Good evening and welcome back to the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education meeting. Tonight is Wednesday, November 5th. Will we all please stand for the pledge? At this time, I'd like to ask if there are any audience comments on non-agenda items. Okay, that brings us to our agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to revise the agenda to amend the consent agenda item 5.5, professional personnel.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, and that moves us along to our BB recognition.
Thank you, President Silva. We are so happy to be here at Buchanan for Plank. Walked into the building, was very impressed with how the custodial staff, Dr. Kramer and her staff had everything so nice to welcome us. And then I remembered that's how it looks all the time here at BB. So we're very happy to be here this evening. And I would like to ask our host, Dr. Cynthia Kramer, principal of Buchanan for Plank Elementary School, to come to the podium and lead us in the most important part, one of the most important parts of tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Trombley, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I especially want to thank our student friends who are here. We have Austin, Derek, and we're very excited you guys are here. You're going to help us out tonight. But first, I want to introduce our teachers who are going to present. We have two first grade teachers, Mrs. Strang and Mrs. Anderson, and Ms. Sickles, who is one of our ENL teachers. And the three of them are doing something a little bit new this year. Rather than Ms. Sickles pulling out the children that she sees for ENL support, she's pushing in and co-teaching in the two classrooms throughout the day. So I'm going to give them the opportunity to share some of the great things that are going on in those classrooms. Okay.
Thank you everyone for having us today. Thank you, Dr. Kramer and Ms. Collins for the opportunity to present to the community and the board all the great things that have been happening in our classrooms. Thank you to the board for hearing us and being part of this experience tonight. And thank you for the students and the families without whom this would not be possible. So round of applause for you guys.
We have some pictures up, so just listen as we kind of tell our story of what we're doing this year. So these are our classes in action. It looks like this for part of the day. So it looks like a co-teach class. There are two certified teachers. So we're certified, and then Ms. Anderson, we're also two certified teachers. And we're addressing the needs of all the students. So regardless of if they're an ELF student or not, we're addressing the needs of all of them. It is the first grade curriculum. It is the Into Reading curriculum that we're using. So instead of pulling them out, we're able to use the same curriculum as their classmates.
So the first slide was showing us in action as a whole group. This is us in action with a small group. So throughout the day, there's times where we meet with all children, and a small group work is tailored to the needs of all our students. At that time, the ENL students are their minutes required by the states are met, and you see them on the pictures. They're engaged, on task, sharing ideas, and it's just amazing to see them grow.
So a big part of Into Reading is the vocabulary piece, and with the ENL teacher, Ms. Sickles, and the general ed teachers ourselves, we're exposing them and or expanding their vocabulary. All students are engaged and challenged, as you see in these pictures. And we have a couple of videos to share with you too on some of those vocabulary activities we do.
So this is a vocabulary game. play with them. If we say it right now, they're all gonna cheer. Hot seat.
We play two different ways, so there's so it's a vocabulary game, there's a card either behind them, they're sitting in front of the board and they can't see it. And the kids have to describe the word without saying it, so it really expands on their vocabulary using the Into curriculum. Or there's hot seat with charades, so they're acting out what the card is and their classmates have to guess what it is. So this is the charades version.
Partner. Yes, yeah.
If they get it right, they all say ding, 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 ding. And then this is where they're describing the vocabulary. And we encourage them to use hand gestures also. So you'll see that in this one too.
One.
That's like the really gospel line.
So I want to speak from being a general ed teacher, how this program, how I see how it benefits the children. And one of the main things that I love about the cushion is that the kids are no longer being pulled out. And the same curriculum I'm doing with the children that aren't being pulled out is now being done all together. It's much more seamless. It's such a disruption having kids pulled out of our classroom while we're trying to teach instruction. Then they come back in, we have to redo everything we just did with the other group. So this is my favorite part of this pilot and working with these people. It's just awesome.
And to add to that, Mrs. Anderson, is that when we're all together in a classroom, all students have the same opportunity, but also they work together, they collaborate, they build on each other's learning and knowledge. They have conversation that when you're being pulled out in a small group, you may not have. Because as you know, in a classroom, there's different skills, different types of learners. So when we're, as a whole group or partner, we're doing the same thing, you have these conversations and that collaboration that you wouldn't have when there's a push out.
Yeah, so there's a lot of natural learning going on, so there's natural fluent English that they're hearing both academically, but also we say like it's playground language, so they're able to hear both and they mesh way better hearing it instead of talking to each other and feeling like they can only speak to each other in Spanish. They're learning and playing with friends of all different kinds, and it's really been great.
And I want to say just one last thing about that is that there's still small groups going on in the classroom, but it's going on in the classroom. They're not being pulled out. So they are still meeting with the E&L teacher in a small group and having their minutes and everything they need to be getting. But it's when the other kids are also in small groups. It's not in the middle of our instruction, which how you know with scheduling can be really hard to schedule that it's all done within small group time.
So this is a slide, it only has 3 pictures, we could have put so much more. There's so many benefits to this push-in model to all students. The first one you can see is it reinforces everyone's understanding. Either you're building your knowledge of a new word, or either you're using your knowledge to explain to someone what a word means, or how to write a sentence, or how to read. So everyone finds ways to be successful. The other picture is flexible thinking. We're opening the minds of our students to different cultures, different languages, but also different ways of thinking, which would happen in a regular gen ed model anyways, but it's enhanced having 2 teachers and a diverse population in the classroom. And the last one is we work together. You could see the children working at the round table, they're sharing ideas, they're using the text to complete a reading prompt. And they all have different knowledge, different backgrounds, and together they're creating meaningful learning experiences.
So these are just some of the pictures that we've taken so far this year. And our two classes have worked a lot together, which is really nice also, so they're making friends in both classes. Then we just did a little activity a few days ago, and it was what makes our class special. So we read a book about collaboration and how different people can have different skills and they are all different. So we asked them what makes our class special, and these were some responses.
Yeah, we wanted you to hear from the students themselves.
Our class is special because we like each other and we are different. Our class is different because we have different names and clothes. Help each other. Our class is special because we are different. We are special because some of us speak different languages. Nuestra clase es especial porque vinimos en diferentes facial y hablamos en inglés y español. Our class is special because we all are unique because we all collaborate in different ways.
So in a lump sum, this is what's happening in your classroom, only positive things, only great experiences and friendship building, learning, hands-on activities. We're really proud of our students and how much they've grown since September already, and we can't wait to see where the school year will take us. Thank you so much for all your time.
Dr. Kramer comes up to the podium for our next portion. I just want to thank the teachers for sharing a little look behind the scenes into a very special classroom that's doing some fantastic work. And now we'll turn it back over to Dr. Kramer for the next portion of this evening's recognition.
Thank you, Mrs. Strang, Mrs. Anderson, and Ms. Sickles for that great presentation. That was wonderful. I want to invite the students, we invited all of the students from the two classes to come tonight. Of course, everybody couldn't make it, but the ones that are here, can you guys come up and take a picture with Mr. Trombley? Derek, Michael, Austin, you want to come up?
And while you're coming up, you have certificates for your practice. And we're going to present those to you a little later. We normally present them but I'm so impressed by the work that you're doing that here's a little known fact about it. I don't keep board meetings, it's just a habit I get into, but I love pizza. How about if I come and deliver your certificates in your classes? I work with Dr. Kramer, and then I can come and bring pizza. How's that? If you don't like pizza, fine. Okay, big smiles and you can say, BB.
Can we take one with the teachers too?
Yes.
Yes, teachers.
Oh my gosh, teachers.
Kids, right?
Teachers can come for the pizza too. I'll go back. Austin, it's fine.
We're going to continue our BB recognition, and I'm going to invite Michelle Karowski, did I say it right?
our math instructional coach up to talk a little bit about our upcoming math night. And I know she has a game for our students to teach you. So we're going to do a little bit of interactive presentation and learn a little bit about our math night on Monday.
This is why you guys are getting pizza, because we're doing double the work. Yes.
So hi everyone, I'm here to showcase a game called Number Hive. It is a hit with the children right now. And this game is really versatile. You see on the screen over there are many different types of boards. So right now you are going to see them play an addition game, but this also spans K-12. So there's a multiplication board, there's division, decimals, algebra. And something else that's really great about this game is it promotes collaboration with our students and communication. So gameplay is incredibly important to learn math, not just for the fun aspect, but for them to actually learn strategy and how to get better with their facts. This particular game isn't just about memorizing your facts. It actually has a level of strategy and critical thinking. So our students who are at that foundational level, just learning those facts, it's good for them. And our students who are ready to push themselves and think flexibly with their numbers, it has that for them too. So instead of me showing you how to play the game, we have some volunteers here, so I don't need to. So I'm gonna ask my kiddos, come join me at the table, and let's have them play some games for you. Anyone wanna come join us?
So we prepped the board on some volunteers.
Okay, Jared, do you want to play with us? Together? Jared, do you want to play together?
One more volunteer.
Somebody else, come on, Allison. Here, Jared, come on, I'm going to play against you. You want to come sit with me? Can you play with me? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Oh, you play this. All right.
I like it.
Yeah, someone has to teach us how to play. Michael, do you want to kind of tell this side of the table how to play?
Player 1 both.
Do we take two shots?
Okay, so where are you gonna buy them first? So there's two chips and the first. So let's say you plus two.
Got it, okay.
So then you're going to do one more. And say 4.
Whatever number it is.
One chip, so you can either move the left side or the right side. Okay, so win, you have that or another. That's a good one. And
It can't be like.
I'm trying to get how many?
4 in a row. 4 in a row.
I can't.
Okay.
Right.
It has
I really got myself.
I'm gonna go with another 4. Don't block me, right? Now try to think about the same thing. So if I move my.
Look at you, Michael, too.
Okay, so.
I don't know, because I don't have any, I can't get to it because, oh wait, maybe I can.
Is that 4?
I don't know what I'm block here, maybe.
Yeah, it's only
Yeah, so if she got this one, he's 4, that's right. Would that count? He's like, no. Oh, wait, so like, if people are gonna take it, I have to get that one too, right? Okay, all right. Just strategizing here.
So you have 2 and 2.
I can do 11.
Okay, so we don't.
There's no 0. Smart.
I'm right, okay, so now I drive this straight line.
So, you better color it.
I don't have my. Wait, that's not fair. I want you to. About 11.
Six.
All right.
It's like a team effort.
Yeah, they're.
It's not your word.
Yes, I'm gonna block you over here. I'm blocking you.
Either way, you didn't have to block him. He could have went either way.
Nobody won.
So as you can see, there's a lot of competition and communication. And they are in school as well. We can go ahead to the next slide, actually. We have put a sample of this game actually on our website. So if you follow those instructions, it's on our district website. Last year, Miss Cavalieri's class actually had 2 students who made a video in both English and Spanish on the directions of the game. And there are printable boards for you to print at home, so you can play at home and be competitive. Go ahead to the next slide, please. And last but not least, you're invited to K-5 Math Night. I am incredibly grateful that I was able to get a grant from the HHCSD to make this night happen. We have a bunch of manipulatives and games now because of them, and also for the support of the PTA and SEPTA, our elementary school staff who are volunteering, and our middle school and high school staff who I've reached out to get their students involved. I'm gonna have high school and middle school kiddos run the stations. So I'm just really grateful that I branched out, and it looks like a huge community turnout, and I'm just feeling really grateful that I have so much support. So I just wanted to let all of you know that our community is working together, and I want you all to come.
Thank you.
So I want to thank the teachers and Dr. Kramer and Ms. Scollins for choosing these topics that we just recognized and celebrated, because it shows what is occurring in our classrooms to the community, and also it celebrates what our students are doing. I had the opportunity to be both a teacher in a co-taught classroom and an instructional coach, and it is some of the most impactful work you can do in education because of the number of students you support, because of the way that you support the students, and I'm so glad that we're celebrating and recognizing that, and I will urge everybody to come. Michelle did a better job than I can, but encourage everybody to come to that math night, because it can be such a powerful celebration of learning as a community. So if we have a really strong turnout, the power, the momentum that we will show our students around math instruction and how math is fun, and how we need to focus on increasing our computational fluency or our understanding and appreciation of math, it will benefit students more than you can ever know by just showing as a community that we support math instruction. So I'll echo Michelle's word to get out there. So thank you, everybody. So our students and teachers, you're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of a very interesting, very exciting, very worthwhile board meeting. Or I think there's a college football game on if we want to go home. So we'll take about a 30-second break if you would like to leave, but you are more than welcome to stay.
Or you can
So that concludes our recognition portion of the evening, and we still have some people excited about our meeting, so we will turn it back over to President Silverman for the next portion of our agenda.
Thank you. Moving right along, we are up to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
President Silverman, if I may.
Yes, you may.
So I want to take a moment to just recognize that the board has just taken action on two important leadership positions that will have appointments to positions that will have lasting impact on our students and our staff. So these appointments reflect our ongoing commitment to excellence in leadership and student-centered education. First this evening, the board appointed Mr. Christopher Moreno as our Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Personnel Services effective July 1, 2026. He's hiding from my perspective, but I know he's behind the podium. Chris has served the Hendrick-Hudson Central School District since 2013 in a variety of educational and leadership roles. Most recently, he's currently serving as our Acting Director of Pupil Personnel Services. Chris is a tireless advocate for all students and has consistently demonstrated leadership that strengthens our schools. I know firsthand that Mr. Moreno is deeply committed to ensuring that all students receive high-quality educational opportunities, and he's extremely passionate about advocating for the needs of every learner. And we look forward to him continuing to make an impact on our district. So, Mr. Moreno, this time I would like to invite you to come to the podium and say a few words to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Tremblay. So those people who do know me, you know that I am deeply committed to collaboration and teamwork. And I believe that great things are never accomplished alone. Throughout my 13 years here at Hendrick-Hudson, I'm very proud to say that I've been fortunate to be part of many incredible teams, working with outstanding teachers, administrators, related service providers, and paraprofessionals. I'm honored to continue in that role, and a role that will allow me to support the exceptional work that they do each and every day on behalf of our students. I also want to express my gratitude to my team at the PPS office, including Alan Gargiulo is here, Melissa Heron, Wendy Prado, Karen Burstein, Megan Whalen. I couldn't do anything that I do every day without them. To Superintendent Trombley and the rest of my colleagues in the cabinet, I want to thank you for welcoming me, for guiding me, supporting me, and for creating an environment where collaboration truly thrives. It's a privilege to come to work each and every day. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank the Board of Education. Thank you for entrusting me with the important work of the PPS office, and thank you for your support of me throughout this time. And I look forward to continuing to advocate for all students and helping the Hendrick-Hudson School District continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moreno. Additionally, in the consent agenda, the board appointed Ms. Anicia McGill as principal of Frank G. Lindsay Elementary School. Anicia will begin her term as principal of Frank G. Elementary School effective November 6, 2025, tomorrow. Anicia brings more than 2 decades of experience in education, much of it within the Hendrick-Hudson Central School District. Anicia has a deep understanding of our students, our staff, and our community, and has consistently demonstrated the ability to lead by collaborating and fostering environments where every child is known and valued. I have great confidence in Ms. McGill's leadership skills and her ability to truly support the students and staff of Frank G. Lindsay Elementary School. Her transparency, collaboration, and shared commitment to student-centered excellence will help transform the school into a place where learning thrives and every voice matters. Anicia, welcome to Frank G. Lindsay Elementary School as the principal, and we invite you to share a few words with the community you're about to serve.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start by saying how truly grateful I am to have this opportunity to lead at Frank G. Elementary. I also would like to look back and thank all of the educators and the parents that I have worked with over the years. I have learned as much from all of you as you have learned from me, hopefully. It's an incredible honor to step into this role, and I'm excited to begin this new chapter in a district that I have been proud to call home since 2005. To the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education and district leadership, thank you for your trust and your support. I'm really thankful to continue to grow in a community that values children, families, and education as much as this one does. I cannot wait to get to know my new community at Frank G. Lindsay. I'm looking forward to building relationships and working side by side, and to really help to create an environment where every child feels valued and every child's potential is truly seen and nurtured. I have to thank my Blue Mountain Middle School family. I've been there since 2013. Incredible people, incredible family, and also the high school staff. And I have to thank my family and my friends and my administrative colleagues who are just wonderful to work with, easy to collaborate with. It's really wonderful to work someplace where you can have colleagues that you can lean on and learn from on a consistent basis. So thank you again, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. McGill. I also want to take a moment to sincerely thank Chris and Anicia's families for sharing these exceptional leaders with our district. I know Anicia is joined by her husband Jim, her daughter Taylor, and her boyfriend, Taylor's boyfriend Samir. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us this evening. We also have some of our dedicated colleagues of Anicia and Chris here, so thank you also for joining as well. As we move through this period of transition, our district leadership team remains committed to supporting both Chris and Anicia, as well as their leadership teams, by providing the resources and the guidance needed to ensure a smooth transition. Chris and Anicia's dedication, enthusiasm, and student-centered focus are truly remarkable, and I'm confident that they will continue to make positive differences for our students and staff for many years to come. And we're very happy that you have joined our team.
For a point of privilege, and I would like to ask for a motion for a quick recess.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. The board is now returning from a brief recess. And we are now up to audience comments on agenda items. Do we have anyone here to speak on agenda items? All right, so we are up to our presentations, and tonight we have one on the annual assessment data overview.
So I would ask that our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Ms. Lauren Scollins, come to the podium, who will take us through a presentation focused on several key data points related to student academic progress across the district. So, board, as you review this information, I'd ask to keep in mind that we're going to see year-to-year increases in achievement, quote-unquote, or decreases in student achievement, quote-unquote, and that those results represent only one data point in time. They don't always capture the many variables that impact our student learning or the complexity of the educational process. So please keep that in mind if you see something that you're really excited and positive about. It's okay to celebrate that, and if you see something that concerns you, it's okay to be concerned about that. Know that the work, no matter what you see on the screen in terms of numbers, comes down to how do we support each individual student in their academic growth and progress. So that is the work that we do as educators. So our goal is to view these results through a programmatic lens as one measure of how effectively our instructional programs and systems are supporting that student growth. This is the important work that Ms. Scollins and her team and colleagues have been leading. So as we listen to tonight's presentation, I encourage us to think about trends over time and how they connect to programs, supports, and systems that we have in place or that we might look to put in place or improve. I'd also like to remind the board of the work that we began with Bradley Geist regarding multiple measures of success, as I know Ms. Scollins will touch upon, and the importance upon identifying and reporting on what we truly value as a district. So everybody is sick of hearing me speak. I will now turn over to Ms. Scollins for her presentation, our presentation.
There are a couple of things that I'm going to touch on tonight, and we are still awaiting finalized data from New York State. While we are able to use the data internally, they have not yet published the typical school report card, and our OCs has not been able to do the comparisons that they typically do, where we get to see where our students perform against other students in Westchester and across the state. So I anticipate, and I'll touch on this later in the presentation, that we will come back together to revisit this topic in January as a mid-year review. We had also anticipated that our principals would be here this evening to talk about this data. However, because we are unable to really compare it and use it more widely, I'm going to ask the principals to come in January to be a part of that presentation. There is also so much data that we can talk about. So linked in this presentation is a Google form that if anyone in the community or the board wants to see specific questions or a point that you would like to hear discussed about our annual data, there is a Google form for anyone to fill out so that we can tailor our presentation in January to make sure that we are covering what's interesting. Because sometimes data is not all that interesting. So the first thing I'm going to talk about this evening is our accountability status. So we do every year for the Every Student Succeeds Act, do have updated identifiers for how we are ranked as a school, and those indicators this year are our academic performance, growth in our 3 through 8, 4 through 8 testing, English language learner proficiency targets, absenteeism, and then our high school graduation rate and the college and career civic readiness. You'll notice on the next slide that we are given indicators level 1 through 4 for all the students in these groups. And then based on the data, the state assigns or determines whether our school is local support and improvement, target support, or different targeted support for subgroups. So this has not been assigned. This is not something we have yet because we do not have this data official from the state yet. So as I mentioned before, there's a link on this slide where when that data is certified by New York State, that is public, and they do provide that snapshot on a school report card. So that link is active, and when this data is updated on the New York State School Report Card website, we'll send out a communication, and then again, the form, should anyone have some more concrete questions based on what they see there. Mr. Trombley mentioned Bradley Geist's presentation about data. So while the data that we have here is built from some of the data that we reviewed last year, as well as some points that I know were brought up in our presentation last year, there is so much more that we could present about. And there is no way to present it all in one meeting, which is why we have the form to target specific questions. We also don't take a look at this data in isolation. Very similar to what we're working on in MTSS this year, we are looking at the whole child and the experience that our children have, and making sure that we are gathering as much data as we need in order to make informed decisions. Sometimes that data in the short term looks really great, maybe long term doesn't look great. And we need to account for all of that. This is the hard work that we're doing within our classrooms, at our meetings with grade levels. When we look at students and how they're performing in the classroom against the annual data that you'll see, their attendance rate, as well as in-class assignments. That is all going into how we make informed decisions about the work we do. So on our next slide, we're going to just jump over a link to another presentation. I'm hoping it's... So this presentation shares our New York State ELA 3-8 testing, our math 3-8 testing, some of our benchmark, our New York State Regents exams, AP exams, and some of our Seal of Biliteracy and Seal of Civic Readiness data. When we look at our New York State proficiency levels, we have levels 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. The student or the parent reports were uploaded into the backpack at the beginning of the school year, and communication did go out about that. New York State sometimes adjusts those levels based on the assessments and what they see, and so we're able to, look at this data and kind of see trends, but also there was question about whether when New York State adjusts those numbers, is it because they're changing the cut scores or they think that the students didn't perform as well. They're really looking at the types of testing questions, and that's how they get those numbers and why they might look slightly different each year. So the data that we have in front of us, again, you'll notice we have our 23, 24, and 25, level 3 or above, next slide, for grade 3 ELA. We are missing that regional percentage. This year, we also added the number of students total who took the exam in that data. There is a lot to unpack and take a look at here. I'm not going to be talking in depth at every slide, but I am going to be highlighting a few slides. We're going to stop on slide 11, Greg. Perfect. So this slide takes one cohort and looks at how they performed on their ELA over the course of their 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years. So just to really understand the trends that we're seeing, you can notice number of students who take the exam does tend to fall off by the 8th grade. The proficiency level, we're looking at 5th grade, and then a transition year, we see a dip, and then we see it growing back towards the end of their time in middle school. So that is the information that we would take and look at how can we strengthen transition for students. What does it look like when our students move from 5th grade to 6th grade? Is the curriculum different? Is the style of teaching different? What do we do to support our students? So that's where looking at cohort data can be really impactful. Next group of slides are about the math data. And we'll stop at slide 19. So again, with the cohort data, I do want to point out that not all of our students in 8th grade take the 3 through 8 New York State test in math because some of our students are enrolled in Algebra 1. So we are looking at a subset of students who take the 8th grade math exam, but you'll notice that in math, we do see that we trend 3 or above from 5th, 6th to 7th. With some pretty good progress there. And then looking at that 8th number, we would again need to drill down a little bit deeper in our data to look at those specific students and where they were performing over that 5, 6, 7th, and 8th, because it does remove a large cohort of students. The next slide is our grade 5 science. There is also a grade 8 science that we, as a school district, do not participate in right now because we offer living environment for all of our students in 8th grade, and that's a high school course. The next group of slides is our refusal rate. So as a reminder, we do encourage that students sit for the exams. They do provide us with data and trends that help and do inform how we instruct and helps us assess what we're doing. The next grouping is our Regents exams. Over the last few years, New York State has been updating Regents exams. So you'll see things like Common Core listed at the top. So there you can only go back a certain number of years. This year our English Regents will be changing and updated. So the data that we get in the 2026 slide will not be as easily compared against the previous years because that Regents will be different. So that is why some of our years go back and some of them don't. And some of them look very different because that percentage and that mastery level had changed when, for example, Algebra 1, we only have our 2 years because that is when the exam changed.
That's because you cannot compare the two results.
Exactly, they're graded differently.
I'm sorry to ask this, just to make it clear as we move forward. What is so in 2025, it's 80%. Is that the score or proficiency?
The 80%.
I'm looking at Common Core ELA, just for reference.
That's
the number
the
of kids that
passing
took it, and so that's the passing rate.
Passing rate, yes.
And then the mastery rate's 41%.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Okay.
It's 85 or above.
85.
The Common Core ELA, the English Regents.
So yeah, it's just how they changed the name for it. Like this year will be the last year of living environment. It's going back to biology. So next year, our students will take the biology Regents, which is a different Regents and different curriculum than the living environment. So they're just adjusting the standards and they've changed the name to reflect that. Just to point out also, Algebra 1, last school year, in 2024, you'll see we had 146 students take the exam, and then in 2025 it was 126. We did open a course, Algebra over 2 years. So some of the students who may have just been put into Algebra 1 in the 2024 school year or one previously, there is now a new course where they spread algebra over 2 years, which is why you see a lower number of students taking algebra last year, because it's a slower paced course based on some of the scores and the trends that we saw for Algebra 1. So now this year we have an Algebra 1A and an Algebra 1B running.
Does this include the 8th graders who took it?
Yes. So if we continue on, our next group of results are our AP or Advanced Placement results. So if we take a note on slide 38, so we noticed on slide 38, in 2024, we had 58 students take the AP Psychology exam. In 2025, we had 15. The reason for that is we still had the same number of AP Psychology sections. However, we partnered with SUNY Potsdam to offer that as college level credit. And the students had the opportunity to take the AP and earn the AP credit, or earn the college level credit through SUNY Potsdam. So we saw a lot of students preferred the college credit. The syllabus is the same, the work and standards were the same, but we did see a large number of students earn the college credit and just not want to sit for the AP.
And Lauren, so just to clarify, they did have the option to though as well. So
yes.
Either take both or one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Seal of Biliteracy and the Seal of Civic Readiness. This is something that we are excited and are looking and working with New York State as we continue to learn about their Inspires and how they're reimagining our graduation pathways, seeing more of our Seal of Civic Readiness program and Seal of Biliteracy, where our students really go above and beyond to show their civic readiness as well as their abilities in the multiple languages. This and then next year we'll also have a seal for the arts pathway, so students can graduate and earn a seal in their visual arts also as a +1 to the graduation pathway. The next data is our absenteeism data. The numbers look a little different because we learned kindergarten is not included in this. It's not compulsory, so they do not include our kindergarten, but you will see so you will not see that reflected in our BB or Furnace Woods numbers, but this is data that was added this year and is one of the measures that we do report on. And it is something that we do monitor pretty closely and have hopefully we'll be putting in some place to definitely lower those percentages because we do have a lot of students who are chronically absent. So that is that last part of that. We'll go back to our other presentation. Just to note some of the things that we are doing with this data.
Just wondering, do you have a comparison to the region for the absenteeism?
We do not. None of that. We don't have any of that right now. When we do, I can do that. Okay. Cool. So just, what are we doing with this data? Where do we go as a school system? We do a lot of crosswalk. What does this look like with our classroom assessments? What does this look like for our students in action? And then comparing that against data for maybe our reading program or our science and math programs. This year, we've had a lot of conversation about vertical alignment at our early release day. All of our teachers and faculty and staff engaged in conversations vertically around patterns and trends that they're seeing across the system, K through 12. And then also we have quite a few initiatives and committees that are forming or ongoing that analyze and work with this. Specifically this year, really focused on MTSS and using data to inform student instruction. Our curriculum and professional learning committees, our professional learning committee met and planned that experience for vertical alignment. And our curriculum committee met for the first time last week and discussed new courses to support our students based on the data, as well as some wishes for things that we want to do moving forward. As I mentioned before, we plan on doing a mid-year review of our MTSS data and what we've seen in our MTSS meetings this year, as well as some example plans that we've executed for students. I anticipate that our principals will be joining us for that meeting, likely in January, sharing their points of pride and what they've identified as areas of improvement. And of course, when the data is updated by New York State Education Department, we'll be communicating that and sharing out the link to this form. Should you have questions or want to ask something more specific, and we can present about that in the public setting. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, are you going to keep monitoring kids in cohorts, like the kids who are were in 3rd grade last year? Will you continue to monitor them through 8th grade and see how they're progressing?
Absolutely. That's something that we added this year, and I think it's definitely, it's really important data, because I think sometimes we just take a look at how are our 3rd graders performing just in 3rd grade year after year. We're talking about a very different group of kids, different experiences. And I think especially now with our inter-reading program, really looking at how our students are progressing, you know, in that reading, inter-reading, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then beyond. So absolutely, that's something that we'll definitely keep on.
I think there's certain grades that definitely need to be looked at and see how they're, you know, tracking.
Yeah.
And then I just have another question, if that's okay. Are you looking to see why some of these kids with the regions are not passing, and also seeing if, you know, how are the kids that have IEPs or in the ICT classes doing with the regions, and if that's, you know, harder for them and they're getting put into these percentages, you know, because I do know that may be very hard for certain kids to take a regions. Yeah. So how do you monitor that?
Multiple forms of assessment, and that's why I think New York State is really looking at how are we assessing students, and is the regions the only way. But yes, so that is definitely a focus of MTSS specifically at the secondary level, is really looking at the trends of what we're seeing in classes. You know, we did notice that there were students who were struggling with Algebra 1, so we did add in that Algebra 1A and 1B course. We increased the AIS program, and again, one of the initiatives we're taking on this year is looking at the school schedule to find ways for students to get support during the school day. So that is all part of it. One of the things that we do get from New York State or from BOCES that we're able to share with our departments at the high school level is an item analysis for the regions and specific questions and standards that our students didn't perform well on. And I shared a data protocol with all of our instructional leaders of how to analyze that data so that they can really say, okay, what lesson did I teach that was tied to this question that students didn't perform well on, and what can we do to revise that lesson or that unit? So that's part of it.
You're looking at that too for the 8th graders who have to take, not just the high school, but the 8th graders that have to take biology now.
Yes, so this is our last year of living environment, and Dr. Toro, who is here, we are forming a committee to look at, he started with his site-based team, and now we have the science department 7-12 meeting to look at ways that we can support students in 8th grade if we move towards biology, or to look at all the options we have for 8th grade. And I anticipate presenting that proposal to the Board of Education in December.
I have a quick, oh my gosh, I always do that. Too close. How deep does the data go on the absenteeism? Is it just binary, like absent, not absent, or present? Or do you have any causality about why those numbers are the way they are?
So that is, we have to dig into that on our own. We just see the absent or not. That data is just absent or not. Do I know specific cases of other students or situations? Yes. At MTSS, that's something that we bring up often, you know, what is their scores looking like and the number of absences. So it's kind of, you really drill in case by case.
So just to connect to the work of the board adopts an attendance policy which identifies absence reasons, and then we have local attendance codes that are approved by the board through policy, but all of those attendance codes from our policy can only map to 2 types of absent codes from the state, present or absent, basically.
So it doesn't, you know, excused, doctor, hospital stay, none of that is included in there.
Not me. Maybe it's
Different, yeah.
I just wanted to piggyback on the conversation before. Living environment is changing back to biology because that's what everybody's doing, not just HenHUD.
Yes, that's the state. The state has changed the curriculum in science to our next generation science standards. Last year, our teachers started working with a consultant to really understand and update the curriculum because it is a very different experience, different hands-on labs. It's much more, there's much more critical thinking involved as opposed to just memorizing the parts of a cell. So it's a shift in how we teach. So labs are a little bit longer, so there's some implications to the way the class runs in a 40-minute period, plus your lab. So we want to make sure that we're looking at the whole system so that the students are supported in whatever choice we make.
And then does that stay in 8th grade or does it go to the high school?
So that's going to be what the committee and the subcommittee is going to be looking at, the task force from the curriculum committee. It's a group of science teachers, Dr. Toro's site-based team, and we will be looking at what are the implications of removing an option for that. What does it look like if we move earth science or another science to the 8th grade, and to see what that does to students at the high school, so to really plan out that experience.
I think that students who need enrichment, it was likely a great opportunity. I think the students that have IEPs and learning disabilities, taking that course in 8th grade was a stretch. So I would love to see that there is enrichment opportunities for students that need it, but I think the requirement on the children in the past with that in 8th grade was really tough.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, thank you. And then with the math regents, I know historically, after being on the board for quite a few years, we've always been fairly low in comparison to other subjects. How do we as a district fix this? What is the, I'm not asking for specifics, just, this is an ongoing,
yeah. I think you saw tonight with our new math coach that is a focus, and something that we brought in to help strengthen math instruction. We, this year, are focusing, Michelle works wonderfully with our K-5 program. This year, the middle school is engaging with a math consultant, Sharon Foreman, who worked with Michelle last year in creating a K-12 math committee. And this year, she's really focused on 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and the experience of math and how we're teaching in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. She'll be here next week. She met with our teachers a few weeks ago. And Dr. Toro reported back that the next day, what they worked on in the style of lesson that she worked on with the group of math teachers was actually being implemented in one of the classes already. She'll be here next week, and our 6th grade teachers will be visiting 5th grade classrooms to really see what's going on there. And then 7th will go to 6th, and then eventually 8th will get down to 7th. So to really start to strengthen that practice. We're seeing a lot of success with the coaching model, Michelle, at K-5, and I think that having Sharon focus this year on 6, 7, 8 will be a great continuation to that.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I have more questions. So to tack on to what Lauren said before, not just following the cohort, another thing that will be really amazing to see is all of these great changes that you and the rest of your team are making with support of the board and new curriculum and all of that. It will be great to compare how are the students doing currently in ELA or English in the high school, and then when the inter-reading students come up, how neat to compare their skills versus this, you know, the high school teachers, hopefully in the next couple of years, will see different students arriving to them. So I think that'll be really magical. And then the last thing that I wanted to sort of say, ask, call out was on attendance. When we report students absent, we have to give a reason. So is there a way that we take the data on attendance and kind of categorize it by reason, so we can, as a district, kind of figure out why are students absent and how can we work to help improve it? I don't know if it's possible. It's just a thought, like maybe down the road when we revisit all of these topics, because the high school attendance, that's horrible, 20%. Like, so if we know why children aren't coming, maybe there's something that as a district we can do to help.
Dig a little deeper into
Yeah,
that, I'm sure. I think that we could.
Yeah,
Yay.
if I can piggyback on that. Actually, Mr. Toro was Dr. Toro was one of the people who asked for a monthly attendance report.
Okay.
So now we have a September, October report that goes to him.
Okay.
That is identified by grade level and how many students and how many days, so he can keep track of it. So yes, we do have it by attendance code. At the admin meeting next month, I'm going to share that because we do that for all elementary school and middle school too. So we're going to share that at the admin meeting. So if they'd like to see that information, that's something that we can do on a monthly basis.
That's excellent. That's awesome.
So,
thank you.
Just to weigh in, remember the policy committee is reviewing the attendance policy as we speak. And we probably want to make sure that we revisit the codes that are being, as part of the regulation, the codes that are used, and then those codes have to be standardized across the entire district so that all the codes work for the buildings to identify what is occurring in a student, but it's also, you can't have 1,000 codes, but that they work across the building so that we can start to compare that
You
data.
mean a code that you will enter as a reason why someone's
Correct.
absent?
So we have to put a code into our student information system when teachers are taking attendance or when it's rectified at the end of the day. And that code has to be approved by our board. But it also has to be usable for the district, or for the building as well. So we'll standardize that.
I thought we approved the attendance policy, now we have to write the regulations.
The regulation, yeah.
The regulations, okay. I have a couple questions. I'm looking at math scores and a couple of the science tests. I know we have our middle schoolers taking some, right, and our high school students taking some at different grade levels, but it would sort of be nice to get a little bit of a deeper dive on like algebra. We have an 18% mastery rate. How many of those were our 8th graders? How many of those were our 9th graders? And then similarly on physics, like it's hard to, even honestly, even English, to see how our honor students doing in 10th grade versus the 11th grade students, like just to have a further data point to see where our successes are, you may find different patterns, I'm assuming you will. And then as far as algebra goes, I'm trying to understand where I see in the region, we don't have but last year we were at 21 and 24, right? So we weren't that far off of the region in mastery on Algebra 1. Are we anticipating, where do we think we're going to land here? 18% mastery is, I know that's just, there has to be something we can do here differently with math, because I don't know if it's curriculum based, I don't know I guess it's hard to tell if you don't know what the rest of the region looks like.
Yeah,
To be honest, but we really, and I know that's not possible, but I know that 18% is quite glaring. Seeing the 64% above is also much lower than the prior year at 76. So we probably need to, like I know we have this MTSS process, but there's no possible way we can touch all these kids. So it's got to be a bigger, something more. And when they get to 9th, 10th, 11th grade, it's kind of hard to fill in their gaps. So is there anything we're working on to sort of correct this so that they have success going forward? Because now these kids are all moving on into geometry, and they're gonna struggle with geometry, many of them, if they don't have their core algebra skills.
So that's the work that Lauren is charged with doing, and we are charged with doing. It's taking a look at this as one data point, and in particular, looking at possible trend data, right? It's many people who are used to looking at metrics such as percentages or mastery rate do so under, okay, so there's very simple outcomes. You have a lower score this year than you did last year. We have the benefit of dealing with children and growing adults who on a one-shot-in-time test may not have their best performance, or it may be a programmatic or system-level item that we need to take a look at. And that's the work that needs to be teased out. And so Lauren mentioned, you begin with item analysis. You take a look at, and it's broken down, each of those items, the state identifies a performance indicator of a standard that all students are expected to know and be able to demonstrate their understanding. So the state puts every item aligned to a performance indicator. And then our job is to tease out, okay, what in our instructional, we had 60% of the students who took the exam miss that item. Let's take a look at what we do in terms of our instructional approach to that. Is there any teacher who had particular success? Not to call them out and from a value standpoint, but to say, well, what did you do? Those are the conversations. Data is meant to cause a conversation to inform instruction. So that's the type of work that Lauren will continue to do.
And we're talking about the math at K-5, and now we're looking at 6-8. Where are we going in the high school? Because 6 through 12 currently uses the same program, right?
Yep. So the eMath instruction is the resource that they use. So that is, I think, what we're looking at 6, 7, and 8 right now. And then, last year the K-12 Math Committee took a look at that and felt that it was a great resource, but it's not the end-all be-all to teaching. It's not a full curriculum like the HMH where it's very scripted. It's just more worksheets and resources. So now it's about strengthening the practices that we're using around that. And I think that hopefully we'll start to see that trend improve as we focus on each level. The high school is really focusing this year on multiple ways of assessment, so that we have a better understanding of how students are performing, maybe not just on multiple choice test or just reading the word problems, so that we get another level of data.
I just wanted to say something about the algebra regions because I have a lot of experience with it. I will say 2024 was the new standards. There was also no sample of it before. And not to make excuses, but 2025, now that it's 2026, I'm going to expect that teachers will have enough of a sample of previous regions to make better predictions as to what will be on and how to teach that. The 2025 test was very different from the 2024 test. So there was different items that were assessed in different ways. Not to make excuses, but that could be one of the reasons behind some of the data that I'm sure you guys can look into. I wanted to request something. I know you were saying you're going to look at data as a cohort, like how, let's say third grade, how they move all the way up and comparing. Can we do that, but simultaneously still look at third to third the following year? Because I know for ELA, a lot of the standards do correlate from one year to the next, right? Like informational text goes all the way through, but math is usually, aside from like maybe number sense, a lot of those standards are different. So comparing a third grade math test to a fourth grade math test, while it's the same set of students, those standards are standalone, right? You don't you do need some prereqs, but you, not for all, so can we do vertical, but also?
So those are
grade?
included, the third grade, I think, like third grade ELA, or 24, 25.
Yeah, like that, can we continue to do that?
We'll always do that, because I think that
Okay,
data
thank
is
you.
always beneficial. This year we added
Okay,
the cohort
thank
data, just to start to see some trends in groups.
Thank you. Anyone
So
else?
just as a, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, anyone else have any other questions or comments?
So as a reminder, Lauren, if you wouldn't mind going back to your final slide, there is, or not the final slide, the slide with, there is a form. If you have questions after you leave here and they come up, or if our community has questions, Lauren has put in a slide where you can submit questions to help Lauren and her team design presentation points for that next update that we provide.
Just have a quick kind of format question. For when you come back with the more robust data, you know, you have a lot of, like when we ask these questions, you have a lot of great answers and examples of how we're working towards, you know, improving X, Y, and Z. I don't know if there's a way in that January presentation to have a slide, or, you know, it's a lot of numbers, and, you know, it's, a lot of us aren't numbers people, some of us are. But, you know, the tactile proof of like the things that, I mean, obviously we had an example of the math, so that was like a really great, you know, one-to-one comparison. But I would just suggest that having something, you know, more evidence-based, you know, in the follow-up that you do.
Yeah, we can include examples for that. For example, what Mr. Trump was talking about, that item analysis of what that looks like, and maybe how we adjusted lessons or what that looked like.
Yeah, because everyone's going to be like, well, these numbers are terrible, or these numbers are improving. What does that mean? What are you doing to fix it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was some concentrated or purposeful alignment, as you said, with what we did this evening too.
Obviously. It's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scoggins. So thank you, Ms. Scoggins. As Trustee Boudin said, we addressed a lot of information in a very short amount of time. So Lauren, thank you for doing that. And every good curriculum presentation has data support, so thank you to Anita and your team as well for helping put that together as well. So thank you both. I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Silver.
And I'm going to turn it back over to you for the superintendent's update.
Thank you. Real quick update this evening, just a reminder of the test of our emergency communication system. We have rescheduled our test of our district-wide emergency communication system for 6 p.m. on Friday, November 7th. That's this coming Friday. This is the system we will use for inclement weather delays, closures, dismissals, emergency announcements. If you do not receive any or all of the messages as a parent or guardian, please verify your contact information through the Infant Campus portal, or reach out to a building office. Or reach out to a building office where your parents or your students attend. If you are staff and you do not reach out to that, if you do not receive it, we ask that you submit a help desk ticket. In the event that there are families who may be experiencing insecurity due to the current state of SNAP benefits, we have resources available both locally and within the school district that can help. So families, and we'll put this up on our website and also in a community message. It was in the message that went out this past Monday. We'll put it out again. Families are encouraged to visit the Department of Health website for resources on local food banks. And we've also worked with our counselors to, if there are any students who identify themselves to their counselor in a confidential manner, that they're experiencing food insecurity, our counselors will connect them confidentially with support. So thank you to Chris, the team, and for Josh Thompson for putting out that message about some of the resources that are available. Just a few dates to remember. January 6th is Picture Retake Day for Blue Mountain Middle School, BV, and Furnace Woods. The 6th is also November. Sorry, holy cow. A lot of numbers tonight. That's November 6th. That's tomorrow. Also tomorrow is our Hendrick Hudson High School Parent-Teacher Evening Conferences. The 7th marks the end of the first quarter for our secondary schools. As Matt and Michelle said earlier this evening, that the 10th is our K-5 math night at Frank G. Lindsay at 6 p.m. The schools will be closed on the 11th to honor and observe Veterans Day. The 12th will be FGL Picture Retake Day. The 13th is Buchanan, Verplank, and Furnace Woods School Evening Teacher Conferences at 6 p.m. On the 14th, it's the Back to Broadway concert at the high school at 7 p.m. There will be on Saturday, November 15th, our Veterans Community Fair at the Hendrick-Hudson High School Cafeteria and Auditorium at 11 a.m. This is being put on by the district, a joint effort between the district and the Town of Cortland Veterans Committee, where we will, if you think of a college fair for post-secondary plans, for our students who may be interested in services or programs available to them in their post-secondary program, this will be an opportunity for veterans of our region to come and look at services and supports that may be available to them. So there'll be vendors, not necessarily vendors, but partners with booths that can connect veterans to services, supports, or programs that may be beneficial to them. Thank you to Dr. Eric Kleiman for spearheading that effort. And then on the 17th, which will be the following Monday, our winter athletics begin for both our JV and varsity sports. This time we have addressed all questions that required follow-up, and I'm sure my wife said they ordered Chinese this evening, so I'm sure they're probably hungry again, but also ready to go to bed. So I hope that is the superintendent's update at this time.
Thank you. And do we have any cabinet updates for tonight?
Not at this time.
Perfect. So that brings us to our board comments and new business.
I would like to make a motion to discuss policy 5181, closed campus. Second.
All in favor?
I want to rediscuss this policy because as a student board member, I've spoken with a lot of the HHCSD students.
Would you mind just saying the policy name again?
Closed campus, 5181.
Thank you.
I've spoken with a lot of the HHCSD students, freshman through senior, and many of us feel that the policy should be revisited to reflect the needs and our perspectives. Schools, as many of you know or maybe don't know, schools near us, mostly all of them, public schools and private schools, have open campus policies, which show that it is possible to allow students more freedom while maintaining safety and accountability for each student. Opening campus also gives students more opportunities to manage our time and make independent choices, whether that means we're going off to college or we're going off right into the work field right after. And so in my peer leadership class, we've been talking about how students want more responsibility and trust from the school, and high school is preparing us for the real world, so it's more than just lunch. And I know that in the past, students have tried to go to the principal about it, but nothing has ever gone through, so I want to revisit the policy.
All right, thank you, Chloe, for bringing this to us, and I wish I knew the policy number to reference for this, but no, not this policy, the policy that we updated about bringing policy to the board for review. So this is the exact process for that, so thank you for this. I think what would happen next, we can, if the board wants, and I know Amelia, myself, and Allison that are on the policy committee, probably the best thing to do for this is to invite you to our next policy committee meeting and discuss it at the policy level, and then we can bring it back to the board to discuss. But this is policy 2410.
Yeah,
that's where this is.
We'll look at the calendar for when we're meeting, what we have upcoming, and when we will discuss this and invite you to that meeting when we will be able to revisit this.
Thank you.
So Chloe, thank you for bringing this up. And just to clarify, I know that our principals are very concerned and want to know what's going on from our student population, so they have a number of opportunities for students to partake. Just to help spread the word to your colleagues, there are some things that our principals' hands are literally, not literally tied on, but they're tied on, because, so this is a board policy which a principal cannot change, and you are doing the exact right thing on how to look to change it, so thank you for doing that. So what we will do as an administration is, in preparation for that policy committee discussion, we will prepare for the policy committee. We'll look at regional data on which specific schools have policies that allow for it and do not, and we'll look at those policies. We'll look at best practices within the region. We'll bring also applicable laws and regulations for the board to consider.
says it.
I have a question for Chloe. Thank you for bringing this to us. That's exactly the point of you being here with us on the board, so I appreciate it. Would you say that this is something that these students you've been speaking with have been wanting, or is there, you know, like, for example, I know I have a high schooler and he can't use his cell phone. He'd probably love to go out for lunch to use it. Like, is there something that kind of triggered the conversation, or do you feel like this has been going on?
I mean, I think that for the past number of years that a lot of students have wanted off-campus lunch, and I know that where we are in terms of like, we're not like Croton where we're in a towning, like a town area, but there definitely are, and then it piggybacks off of like, then like we have kids taking their car and driving, and so it's a whole, like, it would be multiple things, but I think it's worth looking into because I feel like this is, I know because I've had upperclassmen friends that have brought it to and the principal can't do anything but to the principal. So I don't even think it's because of the phone policy. Ultimately, like, the kids that want to use their phones, like, they're still going to use it. I think it's more for like just rewarding the kids that are doing what they're supposed to do, the kids that are responsible. Like, we're almost 18, the seniors, some of us are 18, and I think that if we're trusted enough to drive to school, or even for some of us to drive to BOCES and come back, then I think that it's something we should at least talk about, just because it's been a thing that's been wanted for like a lot of years.
I give you a really fun fact, and hopefully nobody does the math on this. I was the last
year to have
open campus. And I graduated 5 years ago, so it hasn't been that long. But, okay, thank you so much for answering my question.
Thank you thanks for bringing this up. It's great to hear feedback from the students. And if it's been, I guess it's something that they've been talking about for a while now, right? I think one of the things as a board we have to do first and foremost is always to just focus on the safety of all students in the building. And I think this policy is going to open up a lot of discussion from the community at hand as well, because it's not just the current occupants, like the current students that are there. It's going to impact all of our students going forward, and I think it's going to be a very big conversation that needs to happen with the entire community. I don't think it's just going to be a policy discussion, which it is, it should be, and it should absolutely be discussed. But I think as a board, we need to think about how this is going to impact the entire community, and they're going to have to also have some sort of input as we discuss that and chart our way forward as well. But thank you for bringing it, it's awesome.
I have a question. So this is for the policy committee. So would part of the policy committee's review of this be to come up with a plan if we were to consider any sort of change?
I think it's going to be multi-leveled, right? It's going to be first getting information, digesting information, as they said, like reaching out to other districts. We'll have to work with different other committees as well, because they will have, you know, it's not just,
there's safety,
it's going to be their safety, it's going to be all of those pieces.
But policy would chair this. They would kind of outline the process?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then draft the policy, figure out who else we need to connect with. Do we need to hold forums? Do we need to do anything else before it comes? So I don't think it's like a straight, we can make one and approve it. I think it's going to take some information.
I'm sorry. I was just going to also say that in conjunction with the policy and going through that, we would also as a district just need to know what the cost impacts are going to be, right? How are we going to account for kids that are leaving, coming back into the building, if there's additional staff that's going to be needed, and what funds are going to be needed to ensure that we're covering those costs as well. So I think it's a very, it's going to be a big conversation that needs to be had, and it has to be multi-tiered as well. I just think that there's a lot of different things that are going to have to be looked at to just open that up to the community as well.
And we'll gladly add it to the policy agenda. So thank you for that. Any other board comments or new business? Committee reports. Has anybody had any committee?
The facilities committee is going to be meeting on Monday, and we're actually going to be sort of making a schedule for the year, so we don't have any updates yet.
Finance will be meeting next week, but we'll have our schedule then, and then we can start talking budget.
SEPTA and the middle school PTA are doing a joint meeting on Wednesday at the high school at 6 p.m., maybe 7. But show up at 6 and you'll be on time. 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, he's like 7.
I was just gonna say, mention that this is not a committee, but, so I can say it after if anybody else has a committee, just about the, going to the conference.
The HHE PTA general meeting is November 17th at 7 p.m. So I have a high school PTA is very busy right now. They have a sophomore and junior SAT, ACT test prep class coming up that we're offering, and it's very inexpensive, and I urge students to join the PTA. It's only $35 for student members, and it actually includes taking 2 sample tests. $35?
To be a PTA member?
No, it's on, for a student, it's, I think, 5 or 10.
Oh.
But no, if you're a PTA member, it's 35. The course is 35.
Oh.
For $50 and $75 for a non-PTA member. So there's a big advantage of becoming a PTA member. That starts towards the end of the month. They are doing a charcuterie board class on 11/19 from 7 to 9 in the high school cafeteria. And they have a Chipotle fundraiser November 8th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Yorktown Heights Chipotle. Just mentioned the Hendrick Hudson High School PTSA. And of course, the fashion show is going to be we're going to talk about this all year long, but March 21st is the fashion show, and the same day as our Line by Line budget review. It's a big day. And
Sounds like the best day ever.
Okay, yeah, for me. December 16th is our next sale for the students, and our upcoming meetings, we have a meeting on 11/18 and they have a meeting on 12/14. So that's for the fashion show, by the way, sorry. 11/18 is the parent meeting, and 12/4 is the student meeting in the high school auditorium. And that's it for the high school PTA. And then I just wanted to mention that we had our first of the year curriculum committee with the staff and parents and administrators, and it was a very productive meeting. The notes from that meeting are actually on our website, I believe. So where are those on our website so we can direct people to them? Because it would be great for people to follow along with all this great work that this committee is doing.
Lauren, did we post those on the website?
The curriculum? Yeah.
I can have that.
I just wanted to just point out that the process, this committee has done great work, and we kind of revisited the classes that were added this year, and also discussed interreading and where we are with that. And there's a link on here that discusses that, but the real work here is the classes that the teachers and the staff are submitting for review. And we had several that came up, and there's a process here, a multi-level process, a multi-layer process for approval and review of them. And so this meeting was the first that we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different, 8, 9 plus ideas that are being floated around right now. So we'll keep you posted here, but once this is online, the community will be able to see where we are in this process.
I think Lauren was.
I was just gonna say that Corey and I attended the NISBA conference. She went in person one day, she did remote one day, and I did virtual 2 days, or 3 days, it was 3 days.
It was 3 days total.
3 days, 3 days remote for me, 1 day in person, 2 days remote for you, right? But it was good, and we found out that we're basically doing everything that they talked about, so that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm putting together a short presentation for next time. I just got very busy with work, but I sent you guys an email and I think Lauren agrees with me, the keynote speech at the end of the 3 days was by CBS News traveling reporter Steve Hartman. I don't know if anyone has ever seen him or knows. He's sort of founded this thing called Kindness 101, but his whole theme of all his reporting is going into small towns and profiling people all over the country that have been recognized for some sort of small or big act of kindness that has affected like the people around them. And he brought someone with him that was a doctor that like sees every patient in his town and doesn't take money, and now the doctor is sick and everyone in the town is doing stuff for him. So I just thought it was a really, like, you know, it was a lot of time of, you know, watching talking heads, you know, teach us things about really interesting things that we need to know about budget and about how our students are embracing AI and what tools they're being taught and how we're best engaging our communities. But then it ended with this really well done, like beautiful sort of exclamation point on kindness. And I think it is very important in, you know, today's world that we're living in to sort of tie the bow on it with that. So I encourage anybody to look up Steve Hartman because it was really uplifting to Lauren and I was tearing up.
For attending.
Yeah, and I brought you guys back.
I say thank you for the swag.
Yeah, of course.
Any other committee or board update? Brings us to the end of our meeting. Can I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in